Good morning, this is Lori at Lobelia Travels. As you can see, we've got a little bit of precipitation going on here in northern Mississippi. It is 10:41 a.m. I'm running about 10 minutes behind at the moment. It's going to be 15 minutes because I've got to stop for fuel in Holly Springs. Fortunately, I give myself an extra half an hour. So hopefully it won't be a problem. Yeah, I did a cooking one. I guess it was the day before yesterday, 31st. Did not do one this morning. I was still heating up the stuff that I made last time. Still have some of the tomato soup left, actually. We'll try to get a cooking stream done tomorrow morning. Depends on some of it depends on just, I gotta get up out of bed, roll out of bed, throw clothes on, get some coffee so I can survive the trip, and get the animals fed and then get out. So, but I still have 2 days of work to get through before that. So I've got that. Now I'm gonna do my prayers real quick. Oh, Holy Trinity, have mercy on us. Lord, cleanse us from our sins. One, visit and heal our infirmities for thy name's sake. Father, glory to the Father and to the Son. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the second nature, so that we can always have it available, and so that we can always be in a state of prayer whenever it's physically possible. Gives the adversary less time to get involved and cause problems. I hope they're doing something more interesting than just what appears to be wanton destruction of these trees right now. Because it's not even like it's being logged. Got a few things done yesterday. Got some. I was really tired though. I spent a lot of the time just resting, catching up on some videos, a little bit of reading, and got some housework done. Built my bread box that my eldest son got me for Christmas, and that's turned out to be really good. That's going to be something that will show up on my cooking streams. You can't really avoid it, but it makes the kitchen look so much nicer now. It's it was definitely one of the things that was really needed, and it's made a huge difference. And now that I know that I am an ADHD person, I don't see it as being a disease or condition. So I don't like the term have ADHD. I just am ADHD, It's the way my brain works. Always has. I just didn't recognize it for most of my life because I'm also on the high IQ spectrum, which tends to mask ADHD pretty well. And especially in girls, because girls manifest both high IQ and ADHD differently than boys do. And so that was definitely something that was missed, but I can see through, so I can see what's in it, and I I've arranged it so that I can see other things. Made sure that it had a good space on top so I can put things on top and have it nice. So I've got my condiment set on top. It's a vintage, circa 1985 from what I could find. A set of, it's got a sugar bowl, a creamer, which unfortunately is cracked, but that meant it was free when I found it at the thrift store because I heard the crack instantly. I was like, because you learn to tap these things. If you tap them, you can hear the crack long before you can see it. You just need to tap it and you can tell when it's cracked. And so I pointed that out to the people and I said, well, I still want it because it's part of the set and there's no point in throwing it out. But it is cracked, it is damaged. And so there's the bread box has a drawer, so I decided to put things like my nutcrackers, a little cheese knife, and a cheese slice, and a couple different types of cheese slicers, I guess, and silver pie slice that I have. So those things went in there along with the little knife sharpener block thingy, which didn't really go anywhere else anyway. I might move it. It's hard to say. With the wire slice on it, which is really nice. And it also even has a little bit of space on the side of that. And I had to put a trivet that can be used for holding like a hot pot or something like that, So that's turned out to be really good. And there's even enough space on the side for the newer of my knife blocks, which is a much more compact design than my previous one, but still holds the same amount of stuff. And I put my couple of salt grinders in front of it, and then my olive oil and Worcestershire sauce on the back. The olive oil because it needs to be on hand for cooking, and the Worcestershire sauce because it fits there. And I wanted to put something else there, but I don't use other oils other than coconut oil, which doesn't really work in that size of the bottle. So I just put the other thing next to it. So I found the really nice name brand Worcestershire sauce at our discount grocery store for $1.75 or $1.95 or something like that. It's an absolute steal on what the new stuff, what the good stuff costs in the big stores. It was a big bottle too, so it's even cheaper than the cheapest knockoff. I have to be careful on Worcestershire sauces because they have a lot of them have soy, and I can't have that. So I'm going to be learning how to make Worcestershire sauce at some point in the not too distant future. So I'll probably just keep the bottle and just refill it when I make it. So a lot of stuff. I tried a new thing this morning. So somebody was sharing how you can make heavy cream by combining melted butter and milk, and it looked pretty convincing. And it looks like actually I think it would work in most recipes that call for cream, and I do mean most. You can't whip it because basically that's because it's already been processed into butter. You can't really go back, and the taste wasn't even after I blended it as much as I really felt I could. It doesn't taste like cream. It tastes like, not surprisingly, buttery milk. So from a taste and texture perspective, it doesn't work. But she used it to make cream cheese with, so I'm going to try that and see how that works. I need to get a nut bag first. I don't have one of those. I don't know. We'll find out. If it works for most culinary purposes, then it's still worth buying for that. Making for that purpose. because it's certainly a lot cheaper than buying actual cream, which is about $5 a quart at the moment. And that's at the cheaper stores. The other ones, it's more like $6, $7, $8. So if I can reduce that $5 a quart to, $1.20 a quart, I think is what she quoted then. So much of this is regaining skills that have been lost over the years because everybody's been moved to process stuff. And I've talked about the demise of the family before, but especially until I'm getting actual viewers and stuff, it's going to keep coming up again anyway. And that is a tree that's in bloom. I don't know what tree that is, but it is blooming. Second day of January, and then we've got trees that are blooming already. And this is Mississippi, but that's insane even here, I think. Tempted to go the other way just to find out what the tree is. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was running late and have to go get gas, I probably would have, just to try to look and see what kind of tree it is. So I did some garden work yesterday too. I did a little farm tour live stream on Wednesday Twitch. We'll get it. Not just Smokey, but he's got a real problem. And I hope it's just that somebody overfilled his oil and he's got oil burning on the top of his engine, but that smelled really bad. It did smell like burning oil or food forest. And that's what I'm going to do in general, because I'm going to need to fence out animals more than fence in animals. That's what I've worked out, is because even if I can fence in my goats and chickens and stuff, I can't fence in deer. So I'm going to have to fence forest. It's not ideal at the moment because we need to be building more than taking. But at the moment I need to take, and then I'll be building as we go along. We will be contributing more than we take, but we got to take first, because I don't have anything to give back just yet. So just be that kind of poor soil that we've got on top of the leaves and cardboard, and we'll be adding compost, and we've got plenty of manure. We'll be adding hay around, although that's going to hopefully mostly stick to the area that we need to have turned into pasture-ish. So we've got grass growing over there. So we've got some of that done. Moved the got milk jugs that are starting some things for the spring early. They're outside. Had a deer presumably get into one of the things that has holly berries in it. I don't know what the deer was doing, but it ended up being dumped out a little bit away, and the jug right there with the tape intact. So if it can't have been a person, because a person would have done more than just one. It had to have been a bear, because it was, and the skin and whatever was attached to the skin. That was a deer that someone poached. They kind of gutted it and took everything with them except those legs and the skin. Or something got it. Yeah, it could even be that something like a bear or coyote grabbed it from somebody's porch or something too. That's another possibility. And then left it there. But anyway, my dogs have it now. I really hope it was coyotes, because I'd hate to think it was a person. people hunting and harvesting is totally one thing, but if they poached it and just left the remains on the road, that would just be awful. It's most likely to be coyotes. There was a lot of noise outside last night. It was just kind of noisy. And I know the coyotes have been around recently, a couple days ago, so. Anyway. Oh, I need to remember I need some for fuel. Otherwise I'm going to have a problem. Now I can actually get to work on this. I'm at 276 on my mileage. At 28 miles to Thingy. Yeah, I can get to work on this. Because that will take me just over 300, and I know I can get around 330 miles on the tank, so even if I have to stop at Walmart and get fuel on the way home tonight, which is what I'll probably have to do, but saves me some time right now. Technically I need to stop at Walmart tonight anyway. So, daughter wants grapes, and dogs need food. At some point I'd like to be able to arrange things so that I'm always riding on the top half of my tank, but I don't really want to have to get to the point where I have to fuel up a little every time I go out. I kind of need to find out what the prices of gas are in Arkansas right now. I have no idea. Just down here, got onto I-22 and US 78 at Holly Springs. We've got 26 miles to go. Get to Olive Branch, Mississippi. Wait. some water kefir this morning. That's what I normally drink throughout the day. I remember to put a little bit of salt in it, I forgot. And despite the early hour on Sunday, I'm looking forward to it. My spiritual journey has always been seeking truth. That is the only thing that has remained consistent. And sometimes I'm sad that that's the only thing that's remained consistent, but it's always been my driving force. Every time, what I'm doing spiritually has been the search for truth. And there's many truths I found in many places. And every step along the way, I have to fit the truths that I learned with the truths I already knew. And sometimes I have to put a truth to bed, more to speak, because it no longer pertains, or I found something else that means it doesn't work as well. And when I first made my first forays into the Catholic Church, it was via a dear friend of mine who introduced me not only to the Catholic Church, but the more conservative SSPX, Society of St. Pius X, which is often criticized by mainstream Catholics as being schismatic, which it's not. To be in schism, you have to be the one changing. You change something to make it schismatic. If you are adhering to what was believed all along, while the mainline church changes, I hate to say it, but you're not the one that's in schism. And that's been the case with the Society of St. Pius X. In fact, they're officially now reunified with the actual church. I'm not sure what the traditional Catholics think about that. I don't follow that narrative anymore, but I know that there's a lot of problems. And but I had already found a lot of problems in the mainline church, every time I've been there, and it bothers a particular pocket of the world in order to be able to follow it. And I'm right and I'm wrong. Because I'm right that you shouldn't have to, but I'm wrong in thinking that you don't have to. After all, there was one time when the only part of the Christian church was in the Middle East. It all had to go somewhere else. It had to be taken to the rest of the world, even though the rest of the world had originally been in the same place too. It's like sending your child away to school and then realizing, oh, you forgot their lunch, and you go and take their lunch to them, because that's what a parent does. And that's what happens with the people. The people traveled and then, away from the Middle East, and then things changed, and they had to send missionaries out to let them know what had changed and what was important now. So that is the way it is. I mean, and as humans, we are responsible for that which we've learned. Even back in the 90s when I first read through the Bible for the first time, I found so many things that were such discoveries to me. First of all, I found all the parts of the liturgy that I grew up with in the Lutheran Church. It was all right there in the Bible. And I started understanding that it all came right out of the Bible, right where it needed to be. And that was a nice revelation. But I also found that there was a way that somebody could be quote-unquote saved and not ever having met a Christian missionary, because God puts that eternity on our hearts. We already have the concept of eternity, the concept of forever. Humans always talk about that. I'll love you forever. Even though we're not capable of living up to forever ourselves, we somehow just kind of instinctively know that forever exists and that we're part of it. And so we have that concept. We have the concept of morality that is innate, that is part of our fiber. It's broken, but that's always been the state of youth. And even if they become very good at it, they still know inherently that it's wrong. So if you can get yourself to the people that haven't had a chance to learn about Christianity, they can, if they can do their best to adhere to the moral standards that they know is there, then I do believe that they do get a level of salvation simply because they know that they do what they've, they lived by what they've learned. I struggle with disorientation. I mean, the Latin Mass, as beautiful as it is, it's not my language, and it's always difficult for me to deal with it. I mean, we just couldn't make any real connections. Nobody really talked to us. We didn't become friends with anybody. It was just kind of weird. And this last time really stood out because when we were trying the mainline Calvinism at its worst. Lowest common denominator. The second priest that I confessed to was PX. The priest didn't even talk to me. I finally managed to talk to a couple of people, but the priest was not one of them. And it was, while I was there 2 months, I was there for 2 months, 3 months. The whole time I was there, the priest never talked to me. During that time, though, we've had one of the bishops come and see us, and I met him. Met him outside. Said, "Hey, you must be the bishop." No propriety for me. I said, "Hey, you must be the bishop." And he said, "Yeah." And so we chatted for a few minutes. Interesting gentleman. So I met the bishop, talked to him, but never really met the priest. Very, very strange situation. And maybe these are all just coincidences and I'm judging him incorrectly. After all, the first SSPX priests I met were very, very nice people. They were very, very nice young men they were American men that I met in England. They were just some of the nicest people ever. But anyway, I don't know. I just had this feeling that, well, maybe SSPX isn't the right place for me. But I wasn't happy with any of the Catholic churches around because they didn't seem to have a reverent mass anymore. And somebody in one of the SSPX groups on Facebook said, if you don't have an SSPX near you, check out the Orthodox. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Never thought to check the Orthodox before. This was about Palm Sunday this last year. And during that week, I crammed as much Orthodox theology into my brain as I could. Watched loads and loads of stuff, read loads of stuff. And I started getting this, I started learning about the schism, the Great Schism, the East-West Schism. And something happened in me. I realized, you know what? I might be on the wrong side of the Great Schism. Because one of the schism, there was basically two major issues. One is what's called the Filioque in the Nicene Creed, which was established in 325 AD and was not supposed to be changed. And what became the Catholics put in the Filioque phrase, which basically, I'm going to butcher this because I'm still brand new at this. It's basically about, almost rather not say it at all rather than get it wrong, because it's so fundamental. It's so fundamental, and it has to do with whether Christ came from the Father, or just from the Father, or came from the Father and the Holy Spirit. And there's no way I'm going to be able to give it justice. But anyway, that one, there was a phrase that was basically changed and inserted. And then there's the primacy of the Bishop of Rome, who became the Pope. And that was the other thing, that they decided that he was first, the first of the first, rather than the first among equals, which is what it was until then. So the Catholics were the one that changed. Again, they changed. They're the ones that schismed, not the Orthodox. The Orthodox stayed what they were. And I'm almost out of time, which is annoying. Anyway, we attended. We were going to attend our first Orthodox service, Divine Liturgy, on Easter, but it turned out that they had done the bulk of their thing the night before, and it wasn't going to be an Easter morning service because they covered that at night. So it's something they like to do. They did that for the December 25th Christmas, anyway. I don't. And so the next week we went to the Catholic Cathedral for Easter, and I told my daughter, "Hey, this is the best they have to offer." And the music was horrible, which was surprising because Easter's usually the biggest thing. Usually the best music. There's trumpets and everything, and there was a trumpeter just was terrible and didn't know what was going on. And It was a train wreck. And yeah, that was a problem when we went to our first Vespers at the Orthodox Church the next week, and followed by the Divine Liturgy, and we were blown away by the beauty of the music. And this is with no instruments save the human voice. And it was amazing. And we've been going Orthodox ever since. But again, I'm sort of feeling that the mainline Orthodox are too worldly, have lost too much, are trying to be too much like everybody else, which we see constantly with Papa Bartholomew and Pope Leo. And the problem is when you're trying to make everybody happy, you end up with the lowest common denominator. And you lose what you had. Which isn't right. So right now this week we're going to be going to our first service of the genuine Orthodox Church, which is not in schism. Again, they're not the ones who changed. It was the world ones who changed away. This will be interesting. I'm going to close the stream here. I know it's kind of a little bit abrupt. It's definitely not done. We might talk about it more on Sunday, our way to Jonesboro. Evening before I leave Olive Branch. Alright, thank you for joining me, and from this rainy